And welcome all to the first part of Quinnox and Software AG's four-part webinar series on IoT and sustainability. In this first webinar, we'll be setting the scene, discussing how to create sustainable value from IoT and turning this crucial board topic to reality. Our today's panelists are JP Richard-Charman, Product Marketing Manager, Software AG, IJP, and Jaffar Razool, Senior VP Integration for Quinnox. Welcome all. Over to you, JP.
Beautiful. Well, thank you very much for having me on this webinar. Perfect. Well, let's get it started. I believe that you had a couple questions for me, Jaffar, as we get this started, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. Thanks, JP, and welcome everyone to this webinar. We will try and keep this webinar as engaging as possible. We'll make it more interactive and conversational. If you have questions, we have time towards the end of this webinar. Like we have a slot where we can actually, all of you can ask questions. So to get started with JP, so it's a very interesting topic. I know everyone is talking about ESG and is talking about how do we implement ESG and what are we supposed to do. A lot of progress has been made in Europe, and then now US is also looking in that direction. So having said that, how has sustainability become a boardroom agenda, and why ESG has become so important? So I think those are the questions probably that can set the tone for the conversation and lead us to some of the answers that we are trying to find today.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, thank you very much for that question, Jaffar. Now, as you asked, why is sustainability a must-address topic, and why is it so important for organizations to focus on it as a part, apart from the obvious climate change needs? Well, as you'll see here on the slide, we've got some key metrics here, right? Well, 77% of C-suite executives report regulatory pressure to act on climate change now. Now, this alone really shows the need to make sustainability a part of the boardroom discussion. Furthermore, as Gartner observed, 90% of organizations between 2017 and 2020 have increased their investment in sustainability programs. Now, all that means that if you're not investing now, this means that you'll be behind the curve. And as a famous Kenyan marathoner mentioned, the best time to plant a tree is 25 years ago. Now, the second best time is right now. Now is the time to take action. This, the last stat that you'll see on this slide, 84%. Now, our friends at World Economic Forum have noticed that 84% of current IoT deployments are addressing or have the potential to address the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Now, all in all, technologies have been invented and employed solely to make the world a better place. And this is exactly what a partnership like this one between Quinnox and Software AG is looking to address. Help and support customers accelerate their digital transformations to employ sustainable practices throughout their environments. So moving from a boardroom topic to reality, supporting with integrating the right data and being their support system when operationalizing their sustainability strategy and tracking and reporting against sustainability initiatives. Now, with the rising importance of sustainability, as we mentioned, we really need to make sure that we're understanding the vocabulary associated to the topic and what all of this means. Now, there are many ways to define sustainability. However, there's a consensus that sustainability can be viewed as a holistic system, inclusive of nature and man-made things. Now, the goal in developing sustainable business practices is to create strategies that preserve the long-term viability of people, planet, and profit, the three Ps, the three pillars of sustainability, of ESG. Now, with regards to ESG, ESG is a rating system, right? A rating system for companies to measure their credentials on environmental, social, and governance policies and practices. Companies with good ESG scores, more attractive to all shareholders, investors, employees, customers, and suppliers. A business practice that is economically viable, socially responsible, and environmentally friendly creates sustainable economic values. Now, another term that'll come up a lot when we're talking about sustainability is triple bottom line. Every business has one bottom line, which is the ultimate balance between expenses and income. Business leaders interested in sustainability have two additional bottom lines: social accountability and environmental accountability. Now, the last term I wanted to touch on was sustainable development. And this is a huge theme, especially nowadays. And the United Nations Brundtland Report of 1987 defined sustainable development as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs.
I think that's a very good, very good answer to that question. And so, JP, one question I had. So you did talk about something around sustainability goals and priorities. So what are those goals which are linked to UN Sustainable Development Goals, and how do organizations prioritize those, going forward? Because I understand that it's a huge thing, right? So sustainability encompasses so many things in an organization, and it's so tightly knit with the ecosystem and the environment that the organization operates in. So how do we know what are those goals that they need to work towards, and how do they prioritize those?
Well, thank you very much for that question, Jaffar. I mean, when we discuss sustainability priorities, as you mentioned, we need to discuss the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Now, from an IoT perspective, however, one can argue that IoT can be and is linked to all 17 SDGs that you're currently seeing on the screen. However, there's a more direct link between IoT to certain SDGs, such as affordable and clean energy, as well as sustainable cities and communities, and 7 more, which I won't get into just now. But whether it's reducing everything from emissions to electricity usage and more, all of this really makes for a better tomorrow. Now, the way we see it is IoT enables organizations to achieve all this, reducing downtime and equipment, as well as reducing the number of call-outs through remote monitoring and maintenance, which in turn leads to reduce CO2 emissions, all while optimizing operations and making it that much easier for production and distribution to produce and deliver to customers to receive. Now, IoT solutions are used globally to support a more sustainable future by connecting the world, and IoT devices are used to help and understand our environments, or to act more responsibly and reverse the harm that's previously been done to our planet and its inhabitants through smarter actions, smarter production, and smarter consumption. Now, besides the obvious energy consumption and taking measures to reduce energy, some of the top sustainability priorities that we've observed and that a lot of our customers are focusing on, and where IoT can be that enabler, are the topics of circular economy, carbon footprint reduction, asset and productivity waste management, and the optimization of operations, really building the foundations to transform customers' current operations. Now, something to note here is, due to the complexity of accurately measuring an organization's environmental impact and carbon footprint, reporting against these can be complex, to say the least. Now, working towards net zero actually requires neutrality across all company operations, including upstream and downstream activities as well. However, looking at IoT as the enabler really helps steer you down the right path of progress, and employing IoT projects where necessary really helps you steer that path and gets you onto that sustainable path that you're looking to achieve and go down.
Thank you, JB. Now, given that what you've just mentioned, we are talking about environment, we are talking about sustainability, we are talking about governance, and how IoT enables that. Now, so that means it's a very complex program for an organization to onboard. Yeah, to start something, it's going to be very complex, and then they have to really figure out there is a boardroom agenda. There might be a boardroom agenda of carbon footprint. There might be a boardroom agenda of social responsibility. But how do we transition that boardroom agenda to an execution plan? Because most of the organizations, when it comes from the boardroom down to the execution, I think the leadership has a great challenge in terms of converting that into an execution plan and prioritizing those. So are there means and methods, tools that we can use to kind of hone down or get into a target space of transitioning from a boardroom to execution?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, what an organization should be looking at firstly is with regards to sustainability maturity and what sustainability maturity means. Now, if you look at a roadmap of sustainability, it really starts with compliance and ends at future generation safe. Now, a lot of firms are establishing roadmaps to address the sustainability maturity models, which our friends at Forrester have detailed as addressing compliance requirements and establishing commitment and a roadmap, addressing operational excellence, implementing disruptive innovation improvements, and future-proofing sustainability by being carbon neutral and embedding sustainability initiatives into all levels of the organization. Now, with all that being said, from our side at Software AG, we've devised certain frameworks to really help steer our customers down the right path, really simplifying the complexity, taking the complexity out. Now, seeing ourselves as enablers and acting as enablers, we're enabling the journey and supporting organizations at every step of the way. Our path to sustainability is, at the end of the day, a journey, and it's a continuous one. And by following 4 key pillars of assessing where you're at, measuring where you are today, and setting baselines and standards, building out your strategy, your whole vision with regards to sustainability, then operationalizing the strategy, and then lastly, the 4th pillar of tracking and reporting on sustainability initiatives, which altogether really helps steer organizations down the right path and gives them that kind of framework that is much needed.
Fantastic. From things that you've shared so far, so there's definitely a build strategy, and then you have to operationalize that, right? And from what we have heard so far, there are a lot of things that need to be connected together, a lot of information and data that has to be moved. And then this data has to come not just from within the organization, but also externally from the organization. A lot of their partners, vendors, and whatnot, the whole ecosystem in which the organization operates, to really figure out how they're moving and how they're target or tracking towards their sustainability goals. So to get that data together seems to be, there's a lot of complexity around it, and you need a very foolproof system in place to bring all of that data fail-safe way into the organization. So how do you think we should, our company should address that?
A great question. I mean, I keep mentioning IoT as the enabler of sustainability, but as you rightly said, in order to make your strategy a reality and really move from boardroom to reality and assess where you are as an organization today and before operationalizing the strategy, you really need to integrate data, and you need to integrate the right data. Now, what we've devised at Software AG is a ESG Integration Hub, which enables organizations to access data wherever it may reside, orchestrate sustainability data flows to track and maintain performance all from the hub, enabling the exchange of data with partners and suppliers to measure ESG performance, to then develop governance guidelines to ensure conformity to regulations, and enable the development of APIs to turn sustainability data into innovative new tools and capabilities, as well as greener products and greener services at the end of the day. Now, as a part of our API offering, our API sustainability platform, on the other hand, really enables organizations to measure energy usage and carbon footprint, build resources and capabilities, resulting in efficiency, and all through the integration of the right data at the right time. Now that's really crucial. And through real-time data capture from APIs to track such metrics as carbon emissions and energy usage, whether it be internally and or from third parties, all of that is made possible through, as I mentioned, integrating the right data at the right time. So having the right connections in the right places. Now, I mentioned the sustainable path pillars. There's 4 pillars of assessing, building out the strategy, operationalizing, and tracking reporting. Our web method solution as part of Software AG supports organizations' paths to sustainability by offering a central place where you can collect and take action on all of your ESG data and systems, really making it a reality and making it possible.
Thanks, JP. Now that we have talked about data, which is moving in from the ecosystem, but there's also data that we need to gather and accumulate, which resides in devices, which is both internal and external to the organization, right? I think that's where IoT comes into play. And that, again, becomes very complex when you're talking about, if it is a retailer, you have a number of stores, you have warehouses, then you have vendors, partners who are transporting goods for them. So there are so many, devices across the ecosystem, and then you have to bring those, bring that data and information from those partners, vendors, government agencies, and whatnot to actually figure out where we are from a tracking perspective. So are there capabilities which can enable IoT device integration and moving those data from edge devices into a corporate ecosystem?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, as I mentioned, we've seen that integration of the right data is key, but really through the combination of different solutions, such as, for example, what you'll see here on the next slide is the combination of Software AG solution portfolio. This really creates a sustainability hub, if you will, integrating data from all kinds of ESG data providers, unifying this data from external stakeholders, whether they be customers, partners, suppliers, as well as employees, and connected devices in the field, whether it be weather data, remote sensors, as well as connected industrial equipment, all really combining to give your organization a complete picture, that 360-degree view, if you will, to really make your strategy a reality and address those key sustainability priorities. And those priorities could obviously be energy management, or even moving from a linear to a circular economy, efficient carbon management, asset and productivity management, and or even optimizing operations for a sustainability-led growth. Now, I mean, the sustainable IoT landscape involves many challenges, and these challenges are therefore amplified by the need to be constantly connected to devices, where disruptions are costly, growth is tightly linked to reliability, and energy savings and lowering emissions are really just the tip of the iceberg. Now, organizations' journey to making smart connected products isn't all or nothing. And this is exactly the same for their sustainability journey. Now, looking at IoT as an enabler really allows organizations to pair their IoT journey with sustainability goals. They really go hand in hand, if you will. Now, Quinnox IoT, Software AG's IoT platform, helps simplify the truly connected enterprise where systems integrate more seamlessly, technology connects more effectively, and processes run effortlessly, enabling information to flow more freely, really allowing organizations to focus on sustainability efforts. Now, just taking a step back, I mentioned Quinnox IoT. Now, Quinnox IoT is an IoT platform, and at its core, it's a set of software services that monitor, control, optimize, and manage various types of IoT endpoints. And this happens via IoT applications developed, integrated, and deployed on top of the IoT platform, cloud and/or edge. Now, Quinnox IoT is a rock-solid and scalable IoT platform with such features as device connectivity, API management, data management, streaming analytics, and much more, which obviously I won't delve into in this webinar, but it really enables users to make use of what we have and what we call our pre-packaged configurable applications, such as our overall equipment effectiveness app, our device management capabilities, as well as our digital twin manager, amongst others. All of these enable enterprises in deploying such IoT use cases as remote monitoring, smart field services, and performance management. And these use cases I've just mentioned are what are enabling organizations to gain insights, monitor, and identify trends to really take actions where needed. And they're also able to create customized dashboards for ongoing tracking and continuous measurement of sustainability impact areas. So as you can see, it's really going hand in hand with sustainability. Now, leveraging remote monitoring to turn data into insights, to schedule, plan, and execute on equipment maintenance, for example, or to extend equipment life, all ensures that obviously you're managing the waste and productivity aspects of your operations, making them more sustainable. Now, deploying smart field services, a second use case I mentioned, helps you deliver more accurate and timely maintenance, to reduce downtime, to ultimately reduce waste, improve quality and productivity, and lower your carbon footprint. Now, the use of remote field service capabilities as such really reduces the need for travel and energy use. Now, that last use case of performance management, really leveraging overall equipment effectiveness standards, really helps in measuring machine availability, performance, and quality, and optimize operations and improve efficiency and reduce waste as well as a result. Now, our view is that as IoT projects mature, they continue to create value all the way through, from both an operational and sustainability standpoint. Technical capabilities really go hand in hand with evolving business and sustainability strategies to offer new value-added connected products and services. So, as mentioned, as IoT maturity increases, organizations will have everything they need to ultimately transition to an equipment as a service business model, which we see as a more sustainable approach to running one's business. You're effectively lowering your ownership costs of equipment, improving waste, energy, and carbon management, for all in all, more sustainable operations. Now, sustainability requires that we see the world as an integrated system, that connects businesses to society and the environment through both space and time. Whether it's reducing everything from emissions to electricity usage and more, all of this is really setting us up for a better tomorrow. Now, IoT enables organizations to achieve all this, reduce downtime in equipment, as well as reduce the number of callouts through remote monitoring and maintenance, which in turn leads to reduced CO2 emissions and is really setting you up for optimized operations and really ensuring that you're providing and able to deliver the best service possible to your customers as well. Now, there's a couple of customer success stories from Software AG side I just wanted to introduce to you all, and it really showcases how our customers are using IoT to enable their sustainability strategies, really making the topic a reality and moving from the boardroom to reality. And the first case is a German industrial services company. Now, this German industrial services company offers services including plant planning and construction, logistics, plant service, and site operation, and many more services. Now, they're building and operating chemical plants in Germany. Now, something to note here is the chemical industry in Germany is the biggest across Europe, and accounts for 15% of natural gas and 10% of electricity consumption of Germany. So from a sustainability point of view, there's a huge opportunity here. And this is exactly what they did. They seized that opportunity. They set out to optimize their customers' processes and operations. As you can imagine, there is a huge challenge for chemical parks and service providers like them at the moment. You know, the challenge is to keep their customers competitive with energy prices going through the roof, and at the same time, keeping their contractual obligations. Now, the organization instills efficiency throughout their customers' operations and processes. They've helped their customers save up to 50,000 euros per pump, thanks to failure prediction and just-in-time maintenance. They've reduced manual labor by 90% through remote monitoring of water and energy meters, which as a result reduce their carbon footprint due to saving on unnecessary travel. And relating back to that large chemical industry market opportunity, they've also reduced energy consumption in remotely monitored locations by 22%, which is resulting in roughly 200 to 300,000 euros in savings last year alone in just one plant. And this is really just the start of their journey, as they're looking to roll this out throughout all of their 23 chemical parks. So a huge opportunity, and they're really seizing it, and they're really moving to become more sustainable for them and for their customers. Now, this other case I wanted to mention was one of our customers is a wind turbine manufacturer, and they're one of the world's largest wind turbine manufacturers, offering high yield, cost efficient wind turbines that enable long-term and economical power generation from wind energy in all geographical and climatic conditions. Now, this manufacturer's main objective when they initially set out on this journey was to reduce the cost of energy and optimize the total life cycle costs of operating and managing wind farms whilst enhancing operational efficiency. Now, they're using Quinnox IoT, and through Quinnox IoT, they're powering the global wind fleet control center with over 10,000 wind turbines connected, over 25,000 data points ingested per second, and 25 terabytes of stored data. Now, in terms of energy savings, they've managed to reduce the cost of energy by around 2% and increase the overall energy production by 1 to 2%. Now, on such a large scale, that's huge numbers. This later production increase was really achieved by reducing manually processed alarms through automated alarm management, increasing remote control center efficiency. Now, really closely linked to this story, and I won't go into this next one into much detail, but they're another wind turbine manufacturer, and this manufacturer was looking to connect over 30,000 turbines from the get-go. Now, the scale of that project is really a testament to what is possible with Cumulocity IoT, but really what's possible with IoT, and really showcases that enabling factor of IoT, really showcasing why IoT is so important with regards to sustainability. Now, I just want to stop there, and I think it'll be my turn to ask questions now, Jaffar, because I have a question for you. And I wanted to see, how do you view the Software AG and Quinnox partnership, and how is it helping customers make a difference in their ESG journey?
I think thanks for that good question. Let me just get hold of the presentation rights, and then I can answer that question.
No problem.
Do you see my screen, JP?
Perfect.
Fantastic. Thanks, JP. Thanks for that beautiful session around IoT and its capabilities from Software AG, and how we can really help customers. So Quinnox and Software AG, we have been partners in crime for almost 20 plus years. As Software AG started into the integration product line, we started in the integration services, and both of us have traveled now 20 plus years, and a very strong partnership between Software AG and Quinnox. So Quinnox prides itself in having a DNA, a strong DNA in the integration space. When I say integration, it is all kind of integration, whether it is API, whether it is EDI, whether it is IoT, integrating systems and bringing data together using Software AG platforms. We have been doing that for almost 20 plus years. So Software AG product set in the integration space, in the IoT space, plus our services, makes a lot of difference. And when I say that, our services, as you would see in this, we help our customers from strategy consulting in terms of really finding ways of how they want to start a program, how they want to plan a program, how they want to fund a program, down to how do you want to actually design and execute and operationalize those programs. So that's what we are involved in, especially in the integration space. And while doing so, we also bring in a lot of automation in helping our customers, because a lot of this integration platforms, when you have to implement them, whether it is API integration, whether it is B2B EDI integration or IoT integration, all of these need a lot of groundwork in an organization, where you need a lot of automation in terms of understanding how applications interact today, what exists in the ecosystem, and also how do we move forward in terms of putting in the right design for this organization, and putting the right priorities of what is the data to easy to gather versus what is tough to gather, and which are the goalposts they can strike first. So we help them with that, and there's a lot of automation in this process. So over 20 years, we have built a lot of automation platforms around integration platforms and IoT. So we bring that to the table. So Software AG and Quinnox, we go hand in hand, helping our customers realize and bring the vision of their ESG goals to actually real world. So that's something that we do right from the get-go, and that's why we are here today, presenting this webinar, and we have a few more webinars to go after this webinar. So what I will do is I'll keep my presentation short, just to give you a quick view of some of the integrations that we have done. I will talk about one of the use cases in the IoT space. This is for one of the water purifying companies in Asia, and they had 3 million plus customers, and when they started off, it was not an ESG journey. It was more about how can we do remote monitoring, how can we really improve field services for these devices which are there for our customer, how can we improve customer service. But as we started the journey, it became more of an ESG because ESG was just coming in, became an ESG compliance as well. So we brought both of them together. If you see this, this data that is being relayed from the system, from the water filters, and there's a lot of data that comes in terms of quality of the water, quality of the filters, whether there are any maintenance needs on those filters, and then the customer also has an ability to understand where their device, how their devices are operating, and what is the quality of water they are getting. And both this information actually reduces a lot of things that happens in the ecosystem. When you look at maintenance of these devices, a proactive maintenance that is done by the company, reducing the number of routes and visits to the customer, the quality of the water, now it's a very socially shareable data, which then can be used by governments and other organizations to actually improve the quality of water, because now it is available, and 3 million devices pouring in data from different regions really helps the governments to move in that direction in terms of providing cleaner and safer water. So that becomes more of a social responsibility this organization was trying to address. So as JP mentioned, a lot of those metrics, whether it is field monitoring, whether it is smart services, better customer experience, and when doing so, we are really improving the ESG benefits that the customer is or this company is bringing to the market. Really, I think they reduced the overall energy use of just putting their field services by almost 30% on the ground. And the water quality data was then used by different organizations to improve local quality of water. So there's a lot of improvement, both from energy, both from social responsibility and the governance perspective. This, I wanted to have this next slide in place just to give you a quick view, because many of you might be here for the first time, trying to understand what does really IoT mean, how does all this work together. So when you see you have a water filter on the left, and then there are certain systems in place, and you do have a way of connecting to the cloud or to the internet through some 3G and 4G or Wi-Fi. And once the data, so all kind of data, like what's the malfunction of the device, what is the water, a simple malfunction, it can be that the water filter has not been installed properly, or the water filter has moved, and that can actually lead to poor quality of water. And if the maintenance engineer is able to remotely help the customer fix it, one trip is avoided, and therefore the emissions is really reduced. So some of those things, because this the information is remotely available to the field technician as well as to the customer, so they are able to collaborate and reduce the number of trips, and then the quality of water and how much water is being consumed, so that they can then proactively say, okay, the filters need to be replaced at certain point of time, and send them the filters beforehand, instead of making that a call from a customer to the company to actually replenish those filters. So all of this is really automated, and huge ESG compliance goals in terms of energy emissions, in terms of social responsibility has been met through this particular implementation for a large water filtration company. On a similar lines, when JP had talked about some of the overall ecosystem of larger industries and companies. So I'm going to talk about an US rural retailer. So we were on a journey of doing a complete digitization of their complete organization, and as doing so, ESG was also introduced as one of the important factors in terms of gathering and accumulating data. And we had built almost close to 900 plus APIs to integrate data for their digital ecosystem, because it is an e-commerce plus retail store. So we had done 900 plus APIs for this particular organization, and we did it in a very, very efficient way. We had used a lot of our automation tools to build those APIs and understand how this business operates across their marketing team, across their social responsibility team, across their HR team, across their warehouses, across their point of sale solutions, across their stores. So we worked across all of these organizations, and when we actually enable this organization to move into the digital ecosystem, we also plugged in the ESG mandates as part of it. So we pulled a lot of data from the warehouses. We pulled a lot of transportation data because they were enabled. The transportation came in from different partners and vendors. So data for that was mandated from different partners. It took some time for those partners to move and bring those data, but having those APIs available for them to kind of transition that data into the retailer was something that really helped them move. Similarly, the procurement processes were changed in terms of understanding what is the emission of a certain product that is coming from a vendor, and setting the emission goals for those vendors, and making that possible through the procurement processes. Similarly, the retail store and office energy system consumption was also tracked and integrated, and a lot of community outreach, giving back to the community programs for schools, for local communities, and all of that is tracked through the marketing system as well as their HR systems. So both of that, the community outreach program is also, and then finally all of that, whether it is diversity, compliance from emissions, compliance in terms of employee health and commutes, all of that is then collected through the API. We have a Web Methods API integration platform, a very stable platform from Software AG. So that really helped us move all of this data and bring it into a data lake, and then from there, all the visualization for ESG compliance is tracked and continuously improved. So this, kind of, gives you a view of where companies are headed in the United States, and following, Europe is slightly ahead, and how US is tracking, and how companies like Software AG and Quinnox come together, kind of make this a reality for large organizations. With this, I would come to the conclusion part of this webinar. We are here, and if you find that there is potential opportunity for us to help you, please feel free to connect with us. We'll be able to help you with understanding your journey. We'll be able to help you evaluate where you are in your journey, and actually actionize some use cases quickly to see how successful you can be with your ESG mandate. So some of those things can be done quickly, and as you see, there are upcoming webinars as well. On April 20th, we have the next phase where we are talking about employee engagement, because any organization that has to succeed in ESG compliance, all departments or employees have to be engaged to create a sustainable business. And how do we do that? And the next one is in July 20th, to becoming a connected enterprise. And then finally, sustainable use cases to start your journey. So those are the three webinars in this series, which is
Hi, yeah, we've got our first question from one of the audience members. It says, before embarking on our sustainability journey, what are some of the questions an organization should ask or address? JP, do you want to go on with it?
Yeah, most definitely. Well, thank you very much. Firstly, I just want to say, I think that last presentation, Jeff, absolutely fantastic, and really encompasses how Software AG and Quinnox have come together, and some great use cases that you mentioned there. Now, with regards to that question, if I understand correctly, I mean, before embarking on sustainability journey, what are the key questions that organizations should be asking? Now, with regards to that, I mean, organizations embarking on a sustainability journey, and making sustainability at its core value, or making sustainability its core value and part of its corporate strategies, should really be asking around 3 or 4 main questions. Now, those questions should be, what are the issues that we as an organization need to focus on. What are the issues that we're looking to address and why? And, this is really going to that sustainable path framework, which I presented earlier, around assessing. So what are the issues that we should be focusing on, and really integrating, gathering those metrics that you understand why you should be focusing on those. And then when you're building out your strategy in terms of the strategy development side of things, what are the appropriate goals for my organization, and how do we develop that strategy that's required? So, this is part of assess, but also building it out. And should we be, aligning it to a specific roadmap, whether it's a sustainability roadmap or whether it's a strategic one that you'd be looking to go down, linking it closely to sustainability. Now, in terms of operationalizing and creating that value, you should really be looking at what new strategies you can develop to really improve the stakeholder value at the end of the day. Now, when we're touching on that final pillar of tracking and reporting, I mean, all those pillars should help and should really bring up questions that you should be asking yourself. In terms of measuring and reporting and assurance, should really be looking at how should we be looking to display confidence using the accuracy of disclosing. How are we creating trust with sustainability? So those, all in all, those would be the questions that I would advise organizations to ask themselves as they're going back. And all of these relate back to those sustainable path frameworks I talked about previously.
Thanks, JP. Those are some of the very relevant questions. We have one more question coming in. It says, is SAG Cumulosity offering is fully compatible with web method products? I'm not sure if I'm saying Cumulosity correct.
Yeah, you're mentioning that correctly, Cumulosity IoT. So yes, the entirety of the Software AG solution portfolio works very well together. And with regards to web methods, so if you look at Cumulosity IoT, so obviously Cumulosity IoT is integrating IoT data and devices, but we've also got key connectors such as the web methods .io integration, which really goes a long way. And not one of the most recent acquisitions by Software AG, StreamSets, is really focusing on that integration. So we've actually just completed that whole solution portfolio, so to say, of the whole integration side of things, with Quinnox integrating legacy. You've got StreamSets integrating data, and then now you've got web methods as well, integrating applications. So that whole journey, if you will.
Thanks, JP. I think that answers the question. We would definitely reach out to all the audience who have sent out their questions with more detailed responses. Also, JP, the next question is that you mentioned in the webinar there are 17 SDGs, and how IoT is directly linked to 9 of these. Would you mind expanding on that?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, as you correctly said, I mentioned that IoT can be linked, is directly linked to 9 of them, but is also linked to all 17 in total in a kind of direct and indirect way. So with regards to those 9 that are directly linked, I mean, don't have the goals in front of me, so you can't visualize it, but we can definitely go into that in more detail in the conversation. But some of the SDGs that come to mind are number 6, for example, clean water and sanitation. You've got affordable and clean energy, as well as industry, innovation and infrastructure, sustainable cities and communities, which I touched on earlier on, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, and the partnerships for the goals, such as just like the partnership between Quinnox and Software AG. Now, those 9 goals I just mentioned are directly affected by IoT projects in a positive way. Now, you've got the 8 remaining goals, and these can be seen as indirectly linked by organizations deploying IoT projects. And organizations in the health industry, for example, would see that key goal number 3. I'm not sure if you remember, but goal number 3 was of good health and well-being. And a lot of health industry organizations would see that as a direct link, using IoT devices in that setting to really improve the health of the people and the well-being of the people as well. But from talking to different analysts and to our customers, the view on this really varies in terms of which ones are and aren't directly linked. But from our side, specifically from an IoT standpoint, with a lot of customers in manufacturing industry, specifically manufacturing products that are then used down the line in other industries, clean water and sanitation and affordable and clean energy are really at the top, as well as innovation and sustainable cities and communities, really creating the smart cities. But having those devices in the field and connecting that data all works towards, at some point, advancing down those SDGs and being able to really make an impact for the good with regards to them.
Thanks, JP. Thanks for that. The next one is pretty interesting one. I'm sure is that some great customer stories there around wind turbine manufacturers and industrial service company. Could you talk about a couple of other cases, success stories that your customers have gone through? I'm sure there would be plenty of them, and we are. But yes, any interesting ones that you would want to share?
Yes, of course. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, just for the interest of time, I won't be too long-winded with this, but we've got a great story with ERA, so Electric Racing Academy. So this is more of a partnership than the customer per se. I mean, they use our technology, but ERA are the world's first all-electric junior Formula racing series. And their mission was really to transform motorsports by making it more sustainable, equitable, and accessible to everyone. Now, they're using Human-Obviously IoT to pull performance data from the cars and present it live to the analytics team in the pit lane. And through that, they're really able to achieve real-time data insights, which was previously actually only achievable by Formula One. So they're really able to influence their race strategy there and then in an all-electric setting. Now, they're really, through all this, they're enabling that continuous flow of car and driver performance insights, and they're enhancing connected fan experience as well. So it doesn't just stop at sustainability, but really showcasing and getting all their stakeholders involved by enhancing that connected fan experience with GoPro video streaming cameras installed onto the cars as they're going around the laps. Now, I'll leave it there with that story, but I mean, another story would be Sensor Technique Wiedemann, so STW. I won't say the whole name the whole time, but they're a Bavarian company, and they're dedicated to electronic products for the digitalization, automation, and electrification of mobile machines with a global reach. Now, I know that's a whole lot of words, but essentially what they're looking to do and what they've done is that they've deployed their devices on those iconic red London buses. And as we all know, London, huge city, and it can admittedly be very very polluted. And what they're doing there, and with London's strict emissions initiatives and London's 2020 goal to cut NOx and PM emissions by 50%, they really helped, go down that goal and make a really big impact with regards to that by retrofitting 150 buses with TC1 emission monitors. So really monitoring the emissions of the buses, ensuring that the buses are taking the most optimized route when going to a certain location, so that they're lowering their emissions. And they've enabled the smart data collection and have also deployed such use cases as predictive maintenance, really working towards that greener London, so to say. I am conscious of time, and so I won't go into more stories in detail, but I mean, we've got some great stories linked to paint robot arms as well, which you can find on our website, where we're really optimizing that industry when it comes to painting cars in factories, and through remote monitoring and smart field services, able to predict when machines need maintenance, thus really helping on the energy usage, saving costs with regards to that, and saving on energy usage as well, which is great.
Thank you, JP. Thanks for a wonderful, use cases that you presented. And Surabhi, thanks for hosting both of us today. And really, thanks to all of the audience for coming in, joining us, and asking the right questions. I think it's very interesting. I think way forward is go ahead and if you feel there is something that we need to do, and you want some quick assessment on your sustainability maturity assessment, you have the scan. You can scan that code and connect with us, and we also have the email ID based on the invitations that you have. You can always reach back to us, and we'll be more than happy to connect with you and take your journey forward.
Well, thank you very much.